Another aspect or underlying principle of ethics and morality in the Pentateuch is love of God and love of neighbor. Um, Moses spoke to Israel and he said that thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thine soul and with all thy might. So the principle established here is the contemplation of conduct of Israelites in all their thoughts, in all their feelings, in everything that they do. All of their focus should be upon God. Why is it that we have a love of neighbor? Because we have a love of God. Why do we? Why would we reach out beyond what is comfortable? We reach out beyond what I'm okay with, beyond my box, beyond my boundary, if you will, is because I'm striving to be more like God. In this relationship that I have, that I'm establishing through the ethics that are defined for me in the Pentateuch, I am becoming more like God. And in that aspect of becoming more like God, God wished to bless His people through their conduct or through their culture established under the Pentateuch. So this commandment is given: love thy God with all thy soul. Love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, with all thy soul, with all thy might. And this principle is established. And there's also a reciprocity that takes place here, and there's a purpose. And God says, so that you increase mightily as the Lord thy God, thy fathers, has promised thee. Love of neighbor, on the other hand, was commanded towards neighbors and toward resident aliens as a response to the Lord's deliverance from Egypt. Everywhere you see that God tells the people that they need to reach out to those that are among them, that are not a part of them. He says, looking back, remember when you were a stranger in a strange land and I delivered you. So as stated previously, the crux of holiness within the Pentateuch stems from the statement, "Ye shall be holy, for I am holy." I liked what Walter Kaiser said about this. He said that whereas one aspect of holiness, that it's the normativeness of the person and his actions, and the will of God for what is good, just, right, and an appropriate standard for men and women. So it was this characteristic of order that God had destined for His people that the law contained. It promoted this. It initiated this. It illuminated this idea of holiness. And it was the law that was set forth in the Pentateuch that served as the context of a community that was being transformed. That was the goal. The goal of holiness with God is that a people would be transformed. The commandment given regarding holiness isn't separate and distinct from God's communion with and relationship with His people. You cannot be holy outside of God's communion or communing with God or having a relationship with God. This is established that it was through the careful observance of these practices that this was established. And through these practices, as seen in the Pentateuch, the various rituals and guidelines that were given, the daily acts, the remembrances, the various feasts that were given, and all of this was for the ultimate goal of transformation, that remembering who we are and where we came from, that we would move forward with God to a place of holiness. The command to be holy is not an imperative, become holy, or make yourselves holy, but instead it is a statement of the necessary relationship that you need to have with God. So, what is the application of morals and ethics in the Pentateuch to our contemporary apostolic theology? While it is true that human interaction of every degree has customs, it has standards associated with them. Oops, I said that word. But absent these models of conduct, absent these models and standards that are established within that culture, there is chaos and disorder. Social life without law, for example, without norms of conduct is inconceivable. You cannot imagine what it would be like to drive down the road without a set of conduct defined, without stop signs and those things that would be enforced, without speed laws, without any driving laws. Of course, down here you see a lot of things that are just unbelievable. We'll get into that another time. So the existence of the world depends on upholding ethical standards, laws of some kind. And adversely, its collapse would be brought about by the violation of ethical principles. For the Hebrew under the Pentateuch, Judaism maintains that there is a connection then between ethics and existence. It is between these guidelines of ethics or rules that have been provided and their very existence and their very being.